I heard a soft snip behind me, and a few seconds later, the whole class went silent. Have you ever been humiliated in front of dozens of people just because you didn't fit in? I have. And that day, the day I saw a piece of myself lying limp on my desk like a trophy someone ripped from me, that was the moment I decided I would never stay silent again. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I stood up, picked up the long lock of hair that had fallen onto the floor, zipped it inside my backpack, turned to face the one who cut it, and I said exactly 5 words, "You're gonna bow to me." The class didn't breathe. Not a cough. Not a laugh, just stillness. And you know what the scariest thing was? Not the scissors, not the fake laughs, it was my silence. A silence so sharp, so unexpected, it left everyone more shaken than if I'd thrown a chair. My name is Sienna, 16 years old, 3rd high school in 2 years. I've learned something with each move. Quiet keeps you alive. I wasn't the loud one, or the pretty one, or the one with 1,000 Instagram stories. I wore hoodies even when it was 90 degrees out in Texas. I wore earbuds with no music playing just so people wouldn't talk to me. I kept my head down, aced my classes, turned in every assignment early, and because of all that, I became the perfect target. That morning was cloudy after a night of storms. I got to school early, as usual. Took my seat in the back corner of English class. Hoodie on, eyes down. The lesson had barely started when our teacher stepped out to take a call. And the moment she left, it wasn't a classroom anymore, it became a stage, and the mean girls stepped into the spotlight. Luna, blonde, always camera ready, walked up slow like she owned the room. Camille followed, phone in hand, already recording. Zoe fake whispered to someone, "Y'all, her hair looks like some old haunted doll." I didn't look up. Didn't flinch, and maybe that was my mistake. I figured they were just talking trash like usual. What I didn't know was that Luna had come prepared, with a small pink pair of scissors hidden in her jacket sleeve. She moved fast. Snip. Just one clean slice. I felt a sudden lightness behind my neck. Not pain, just air. Like something had been taken. I reached back. There was nothing. I looked down. A thick jet-black lock of hair, my hair, the one I'd been growing for 6 straight years, lay on the floor by my Converse. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I bent down slowly, picked it up like I was handling something sacred. Zipped it into the front pocket of my backpack. Then I stood up. Luna stood there smirking like she'd just won a game. "Oops, sorry, Rapunzel," she said in that sugary venom voice. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I just looked her in the eye and said, "You're gonna bow to me, I swear." Then I threw my backpack over my shoulder and walked out. No one tried to stop me. No one said a word. They didn't know what I was about to do. But I did. I had stayed quiet for too long, and what I was about to unleash, they wouldn't see it coming. People at school thought they knew me. To them, I was just the quiet girl, always in oversized hoodies, always sitting in the back, never raising my hand unless I had to. But that's the thing about quiet people. We see everything. I watched how Luna twisted the truth with a smile, how Camille weaponized likes and retweets, how Zoe never touched anyone, but still managed to ruin reputations just with whispers in the hallway. I knew exactly what kind of girls they were, and exactly how they saw me. They didn't see strength. They saw a blank slate, someone they could paint their cruelty on without consequence. What they didn't know was my silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy. See, my mom's not like other moms. She's a former civil rights attorney, tough, sharp, relentless. She once sued a school district for discrimination and won. My grandma? She marched in Selma. I come from women who fight, with words, with law, with dignity. But they also taught me this: pick your battles, and when you do, win it so hard, no one tries you again. So while other girls were figuring out makeup and TikTok dances, I was learning about privacy laws, defamation, and how to document harassment without saying a word. I didn't prepare for a fight, but I was ready for one. At Redbridge High, you don't get noticed unless you're loud, pretty, or popular. I was none of those things. I kept to myself, lunch in the library, hoodie on even in August heat. Straight A's, never late, never missing homework. They called me a ghost. I preferred it that way. Because while ghosts are easy to overlook, they're also hard to pin down, and sometimes terrifying when they come back. The truth, I didn't hate Luna, or Camille, or Zoe. I just knew exactly how far they could go if no one stopped them. I'd seen the way other girls cried in the bathroom after getting canceled by one of their rumors, how teachers ignored it because they're just being girls. But me, I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to make sure they understood something they'd never had to learn before. What it feels like to be powerless. Publicly, legally, and permanently. And the second that pair of scissors cut through my hair, that was their biggest mistake, because they didn't just take a piece of me, they gave me permission. Redbridge High isn't the kind of school you survive just by showing up. It's a hierarchy, loud, shallow, and brutal, and at the very top, the Redbridge Trinity, Luna, Camille, Zoe. They weren't just popular. They were untouchable. Luna Cartwright was the face, blonde curls, perfect teeth, lips always glossed. She had over 80K followers on TikTok and walked the halls like they were her personal runway. Every Friday, she posted a fit check video in the girls' bathroom mirror. Even the teachers followed her account, mostly out of fear of being roasted in her comments. Luna didn't scream or throw punches. She whispered in the right ears, posted at the right time, and smiled as she destroyed you. Camille Adams was the eyes. She filmed everything. Snapchat stories, Insta Reels, Discord leaks. If it happened, Camille had a clip. She was the one behind the phone when I got my hair cut. Of course she was. Her camera roll wasn't for memories, it was ammunition. Camille wasn't loud, but she was fast. Fast at spreading drama. Fast at cutting out whoever got in the way. If you crossed her, you'd wake up the next day with your DMs screenshotted and your name trending in school group chats for all the wrong reasons. And Zoe Price, she was the venom. She didn't film. She didn't post. She just spoke. Softly, casually, always when you weren't listening. She'd lean over to your crush and say, "She told me you were desperate." Or whisper in gym class, "Don't sit next to her. You don't know what she has." Zoe never got caught, but somehow every rumor traced back to her lips. She didn't need social media. She was social media, weaponized in human form. Together, the three of them were a perfect storm. Student council. Check. Cheer squad captains. Prom committee? Obviously. Every hallway had their fingerprints on it. Every smile in the yearbook was filtered through their approval. Redbridge didn't run on grades or talent. It ran on their opinions. So yeah, when Luna walked past my desk, scissors hidden in her sleeve, she wasn't expecting fallout. She expected applause, or at least laughter. She thought I was a nobody, just another face in the crowd. Another girl who'd cry, hide, and maybe switch schools like the others before me. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I wasn't the same kind of quiet. I wasn't scared. I was calculating. And by the time their video hit 200 views that afternoon, my plan had already begun. It happened during third period. We were in science class and the teacher had stepped out for a few minutes to take a phone call. The room was buzzing, everyone chatting, tossing paper balls, typical high school chaos. I was seated at the back, hoodie up, earbuds in, though again no music, just static silence the way I liked it. That's when Luna moved. No warning, no drama, just her, slipping quietly from her seat like a cat that knew its prey couldn't fight back. I didn't see the scissors, not at first. She kept them hidden in her oversized sleeve, tiny, pink, like something from a middle school art kit. I didn't even flinch when she got close. People walked past me all the time. No one ever paid attention to the girl in the hoodie. Then, snip, that sound, it was almost gentle. Like someone cutting ribbon on a birthday present. Except this ribbon was mine. For a second I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Then I felt it. Cool air brushing the back of my neck. Lightness. I reached back. My fingers touched jagged ends where long, soft strands used to be. Then I looked down. There it was, a thick, dark lock of my hair, at least 18 inches, resting like a corpse on my desk. A gasp rippled through the room. A few students laughed, a couple froze, and then the phones came out. Camille was already recording. Of course she was. She zoomed in on Luna as she smirked and leaned over my shoulder. "Oops," she said sweetly. "Didn't mean to scare you, Rapunzel." The whole room tensed, waiting. Some expected me to cry. Others waited for me to scream or slap her across the face. But I didn't. I bent down, picked up the lock of hair with both hands, and gently slipped it into my backpack. No rush, no panic, just care. Like I was handling something sacred. Then I stood up, turned to Luna. Her smirk faltered, just for a second when she saw my eyes. I wasn't angry. I wasn't broken. I was focused. I looked straight at her and said, "You're gonna regret that. I promise." 5 words. Calm, quiet, measured. But that was all it took. The energy in the room shifted, sharp, sudden, undeniable. No one laughed after that. Not even Camille. By the time I walked out of the classroom, the video was already in someone's group chat. By lunch, it had been shared in 5 different private Snap groups. By evening, it would hit TikTok. They wanted a reaction. They got one. Just not the kind they expected. The thing about revenge is, it hits different when it's quiet. Planned, legal, documented. By the time I stepped out of that science class, I wasn't just humiliated, I was activated. I didn't go to the principal's office, I didn't call a teacher or file a school report, no. I went home, straight to my mom. She opened the front door, took one look at me and the uneven edges of my hair, and didn't say a word. She just stepped aside, let me in, and said, "Show me what happened." We sat at the dining table. I pulled out my laptop, opened the school's private Snap group someone had leaked to me, and played the video. The scissors. The laughter. The voice. "Oops, Rapunzel." Me turning around, calm. Controlled. My mom's expression didn't change. She just reached for her phone and called a friend, a civil litigation attorney she used to work with in Austin. Within an hour, we had a plan, and within 12, we had a case. Video, hair, public setting, emotional distress. Witnesses? Dozens. Intent. Proven by recording. Pattern of harassment documented. Turns out, you don't need to throw a punch for it to be legally classified as assault, especially not in Texas. By midnight, the video had spread beyond our school. A friend of mine, well, not really a friend, just a girl who liked my fan art once, had reposted it to TikTok with the caption, "She didn't scream, she didn't cry, she promised." Watch her. It had 11K views in 2 hours. By sunrise, 76K. By homeroom the next morning, over 120,000. And counting. I walked into school wearing my hair tied back, not to hide the uneven cut, but to show it. Clean, sharp. Intentional. Luna, Camille, and Zoe, they came in like nothing happened. But they didn't know what was waiting. At 8:01 a.m., the front office called their names over the intercom. "Luna Cartwright, Camille Adams, Zoe Price, please report to the main office." They smirked at first. Probably thought it was about prom committee or a pep rally. Instead, they walked into a room with my mom. her attorney friend, the principal, a school board liaison, and me, sitting there. Calm. Waiting. There was a letter of complaint filed against them, a video already submitted as evidence, and a copy of the Texas Education Code, Section 37.06, open on the desk. That's the one that includes assault by conduct as grounds for mandatory disciplinary action. They didn't laugh this time. And they definitely didn't smirk when they saw me slide a printed still from the video across the table and say, "This was your idea of funny. Let's see if the school board agrees." They say people don't change overnight, but that morning, Redbridge High felt different. Hallways were quieter. Eyes lingered longer when they looked at me. Whispers were softer but more nervous. Curious, careful, I wasn't a rumor anymore. I was a reckoning. Around third period, I got called to the office again. Only this time, it wasn't about the case. It was from the student leadership team, asking if I'd speak at the next Voices of Redbridge assembly. A once-a-month thing where students talked about things that mattered: mental health, bullying, identity, belonging. I almost laughed. 2 days ago, I didn't even have a seat at the lunch table. Now they wanted to hand me a microphone, but I said yes. Not because I wanted attention, but because if there was ever a moment to speak, not scream, not post, not fight, this was it. Friday came fast. I stood backstage in the auditorium staring through the thick curtain. Rows and rows of students, hundreds, shuffling in, whispering, snapping pics. Some of them had shared the video. Some had commented laughing emojis. Some hadn't said anything at all. I wasn't thinking about revenge anymore. I was thinking about dignity. When they called my name, it echoed more than I expected. I stepped out into the light, hair tied up. No hoodie, just jeans, a simple tee, and my voice, the same voice I'd kept buried for years. I took a breath, held the mic, and said, 2 days ago someone took something from me. They thought it was funny, they thought I wouldn't do anything, but the truth is, I've been doing something this whole time. I've been watching, learning, and I've learned that sometimes silence is the loudest kind of resistance. I looked around. No one moved, not even the kids who usually whispered through everything, so I kept going. When you cut someone down, whether it's their hair, their voice, or their confidence, you better hope they don't know how to stand taller without it, because when they do, it's over for you. I paused, then smiled. I'm not here to shame anyone. I'm here to remind you, just because someone's quiet doesn't mean they're weak, and just because they forgive doesn't mean they forget. When I stepped away from the mic, the silence lasted a second too long. Then, applause, not just polite clapping, full-on standing ovation. Teachers, students, even the janitor standing near the back. It didn't change everything, but it changed enough. I didn't plan on becoming some kind of icon. I just wanted to be heard. But once I was, the ripples didn't stop. By Monday, the school board had launched an official review, not just of the girls, of the school's entire anti-bullying policy. My case wasn't the only one. Other students started coming forward, quiet kids, weird kids, kids who had been humiliated and brushed off. And now, they had proof that staying silent was no longer their only option. For Luna, Camille, and Zoe, the fallout came fast. First, the 3-day suspension, then removal from student council, and finally, the worst punishment of all, banned from prom. And every school-organized event for the rest of the year. No more backstage passes to the spotlight. No more assemblies, TikToks, and cheer uniforms, or homecoming selfies under glittering lights. And it wasn't just the punishment, it was the shift. The hallways didn't part for them anymore. The laughs faded, people stopped liking their posts, and the stares. They weren't admiring, they were cold, confused, even disappointed. It turns out, power only lasts as long as people believe in it, and no one believed in them anymore. Then came Wednesday afternoon. I was walking to the parking lot after school, backpack slung low, earbuds finally playing actual music this time. I was halfway to my mom's car when I heard someone call out, "Sienna, wait." It was Luna, alone, no camera. No posse, no makeup, just her, sweaty, quiet, unsure for the first time in ever. She walked up slowly, hands shaking. I'm sorry," she said. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I wouldn't forgive me either, but I didn't think it would get this far." I looked at her. She wasn't crying, not exactly, but her voice cracked like glass. And for the first time, she looked small. I took a deep breath, not because I was angry anymore. Because I wasn't. I was past it. "I already forgave you," I said. But forgiveness doesn't mean there aren't consequences. You just finally got to feel what it's like to be powerless. Maybe now you'll think twice before making someone else feel the same. She nodded. Didn't argue, didn't flinch, just stood there looking like someone who finally saw herself clearly and didn't like the reflection. They expected me to scream? They expected me to fight back with drama, with chaos, with fists or fury, but I didn't, because that's not who I am. And honestly, that's not what works. What works is strategy. What works is truth. What works is knowing your worth even when no one else seems to. When Luna cut my hair in front of that class, she didn't just cut strands. She tried to slice through my dignity. But dignity doesn't live in your hair, or your clothes, or how many followers you have. It lives in what you do when no one's clapping for you. I didn't need the school to crown me a hero. I didn't need the internet to blow it up. I didn't even need Luna to apologize. What I needed was to prove to myself that silence doesn't mean surrender, that being the quiet girl didn't make me weak. It made me dangerous in all the ways they never saw coming. People say high school drama doesn't matter in the real world, but I disagree. Because how we treat people here, how we learn power, empathy, justice, that shapes everything. And sometimes, a single moment in a hallway or a quiet decision to stand up without shouting becomes the thing that redefines who you are. After everything, I didn't become the most popular girl in school. I still don't go to pep rallies, still eat lunch alone sometimes, but I walk taller now. People look me in the eye. They think before they speak. Some even sit next to me and say things like, "Hey, thanks for what you did. I saw it. I felt it." I don't need applause. Just awareness. And as for Luna, Camille, and Zoe, they faded. Not because I erased them, but because I outgrew them. They got their consequences. I got my peace. So if you're watching this and you've ever felt small, invisible, underestimated, remember this. The quiet ones aren't weak. We're just waiting. And when we rise, we do it without noise, because when dignity speaks, even the loudest voices go silent. Sometimes I still think about that moment. The snip, the silence, the stunned eyes around the room as I stood up, not to scream, but to walk away. Not all revenge needs fire. Sometimes it just needs clarity. I know this won't be the last time someone gets bullied for being different, or quiet, or simply not fitting into someone else's mold. But if this story reaches even one person out there, someone who's sitting in the back of class right now, hoping no one sees them, I hope you know you're not alone. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to fight to win. Sometimes being still, being strategic, is the strongest move you can make. And when the time is right, you'll speak, not out of anger, but out of power. So if you've ever been the quiet one, this one's for you. Thank you for listening. Life lesson. You won't always get to choose what happens to you, but you can choose how you respond. Sometimes the strongest move isn't to lash out. It's to pause, protect your peace, and prepare a response no one sees coming. Never underestimate your silence. Never let someone else define your value, because the people who think you're easy to break are usually the ones who fall apart first when they realize you never needed to raise your voice to win. Now it's your turn. If this story meant something to you, don't just scroll away, leave a comment. Share your thoughts, hit the like button, subscribe for more real stories that actually matter. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, send it their way. The world needs more stories told from the quiet side. And trust me, we're just getting started.